All right, here's the temple. We'll look at the temple first. Some of these images were already released by O'Keefe Media, and I don't know why. They had 5 weeks. They didn't get rid of this nasty mattress in here. But take a look at this. Inside the temple, we can see, of course, construction equipment. We see this little guy that opens up right here, this little box. There's not a whole lot in it. Look at this. There's absolutely nothing in this box right here. This, to me, would have been where the surveillance equipment for the temple would have been. Because why are you just going to have... And look at this, by the way. Blank cement board or sheetrock. All the rest of the walls in here have this, I don't know, it's like a stone paneling or something. This is just plain regular plywood. I mean, they just try to make it seem like, oh, yep, the temple, that's just how the temple looks. We just always had this temple unfinished. No, they came in here, they ripped the fancy stone walling off, and then they had to put this cement board back up. Probably because there was surveillance equipment back here. Okay? I mean, again, this is not how Epstein would have had this, you know, when people would have been coming to his island. Okay? That's just ridiculous. I don't know why they didn't get rid of this nasty mattress, but whatever. Yep, here we can see inside of here again. We can see this stuff. This is like Bondo, you know? So this would have been taken off. This would have been taken off unless this is where this little panel, you know, maybe there's like a gap there and this sticks out and this door covers these marks. But to me, this looks like fresh remodel activity. They would have been ripping out the electrical lines. There was probably wires in here for the surveillance equipment. Yeah, here. And look at this. Oh yeah, we just have this secret box here and there's nothing inside of it. Yep, we just built this in here, and there's plugs, and there's nothing in there. So to me, this is where the surveillance equipment in the temple would be. Keep in mind, guys, 5-week gap between Epstein's arrest and the FBI raid. So this is what the FBI finds in here. They find this thing all ripped up. I mean, so. The next thing we are going to be looking at is this is a good one, guys. This is my favorite. This is the biggest thing that I learned in the Epstein file release right here, okay? They go in what they call the gym, okay? Now let's take a look inside this alleged gym. And I saw this gym in photos of or the drone footage over Epstein's island. I thought this was just another residence. Let's take a look here, and you tell me if you think this is a gym or not. Okay, we're just on the outside here. All right, wait till we get in, guys. Look at this. They do not have a goddamn floor in here. No floor. Yep, this is just how Epstein left it. He just didn't have a floor in here. Yeah, no. They ripped the floor out of this place because there was so many bugs and they didn't have enough time to replace the floor before the FBI raid. We can see back here there's probably some surveillance equipment. You guys note this speaker right here. Okay, let's keep going through. Let's tell me what else you see. What kind of vibe does this place put off? Okay, we got some mirrors right here. All right. There's maybe a piece of gym equipment. More speakers, more speakers. There's that mirror again. Look up here. It's some silhouettes of some ladies dancing. If you want my opinion, guys, I don't think this was a gym. I believe this was a strip club. Okay, I think Epstein had a strip club here on his island, and this was it. That's what the speakers are for. That's what this is for. That's why there's so many mirrors in here, and that is why they had to rip the floor out of here. Okay. Yep, and look at this big mirror. I mean, strip clubs have lots of mirrors. That's what this mirror is doing here. So this, to me, as far as Epstein's Island goes, this is one of the most damning things that they just released. That this building here had the frickin' floor ripped up in it. Okay, getting rid of all the bugs. The The way that our government allowed Epstein to clean this island up, a 5-week gap after his arrest and before the raid on this island, is just abhorrent. I mean, it's a perversion of justice. And I talked about this in my most recent video, that the only parallel that I can find to this is in the Iran-Contra affair. Colonel Oliver North's office was not secured for 4 days, and him and his secretary destroyed a lot of the documents related to Iran-Contra. That's the only parallel I can find to what has happened here. Guys, if you guys are commenting on this, I can't see it. I exited out of the YouTube program I was in, so I cannot see your comments. I'll go through and like respond to them after, but I am so incredibly sorry. I cannot see what you guys are saying to me. I am live right now, so if I tried to pull it up, it would take me a long time, and it just wouldn't be good. So, well, actually, maybe I do have... it says one person's watching. Maybe that's me that's watching. All right. Anyways. So this is the outside of the strip club. All right, now we're going to go to Beach House. Something else that's interesting that's in this same lineup of photos that we're going to look at is this outdoor area. Okay, they call it a gazebo. Okay. And some YouTubers infiltrated this island. I think it was Andy Bracco. Or maybe We Are Change. They actually went to this gazebo and they investigated this stuff. This is freaking weird, guys, okay? We've got these weird African masks here, I guess. And then we've got these table and chairs. These chairs are made out of, like, horns and bone. Okay? This seems like kind of got an occult vibe, if you ask me, okay? I think this is kind of an occult vibe. These little African warrior masks and these it looks like freaking Satan's chair. Look at that. They're made from the legs, the hooves of like a goat or a cow. I mean, that's just kind of weird in my opinion. This is a weird mask right here. Well, I mean, what is that? A bone mask with like a 3 foot tall thing on top of it. I don't know, man. This area just puts off really weird vibes to me. I had a weird vibe to it when those YouTubers went here, and seeing these detailed pictures that the FBI took. Look at this one. Look at that mask. It's just even, this guy right here, even weirder. I mean, this looks like something straight out of a bad acid trip. Okay, I don't know if you guys have ever had a bad acid trip, but this is, if you had to sum it up, if you said, show me one piece of artwork that summarizes a bad acid trip, I would say this fucking close-up of a blowfish on Epstein's Island. Alrighty. Yeah, we're outside the gazebo. I would like to go through every one of these pictures with you guys. It would just take hours upon hours. I actually went through all these pictures myself, and it took a very, very long time. I mean, we're talking like 3-4 hours. So if you guys actually want to see me go through every picture, I will do that for you. But there has to be some interest in it. I'm going to do lives like this to go over information, and my YouTube videos, I'm going to try to put much more production quality than I have been. So if you guys are a fan of my videos, my most recent one, I put the most amount of effort into it. There's music, there's all kinds of cuts. I'm going to try to do good production quality on my YouTube videos, and then lives like this are going to be just me talking about information. Okay. Here's something really cool. Epstein's cryptic chalkboard message. Okay, here's what we had before. Okay, these new pictures actually show a whole other side to this chalkboard. And this chalkboard, I don't know if this message, again, 5-week gap between Epstein's arrest and when the raid happened. I don't know if this message was intentionally left here as a red herring or it was forgotten. Because this chalkboard opens. There's other pictures in this set where this little gap right here opens this way and this way. So this chalkboard could have been open, and there's a chalkboard behind it, and they just didn't realize that this was here. Okay, but here was the chalkboard that was already released. In my opinion, he's talking about power, financial, physical, intellectual, and political power, and how people in power use deception to maintain that. I have a whole video about this if you guys are curious on this side, but Mirror in face is probably related to deception, maybe a deception tactic. Then I believe here he's talking about plants, people planted in specific industries, just like Epstein was planted in the financial industry. You know, he had no qualifications and he got a job as a finance bro in Bear Stearns. So how did that happen? He was planted. The guy who hired him for that job, Donald Barr, was a member of the OSS, the predecessor agency for the CIA. You want my opinion? I think that that was a planned thing. They planned to plant Epstein in these industries, probably to gather blackmail information on people in these industries. And I believe this whole discussion here on this chalkboard is Epstein telling somebody that he's going to be a plant for him. And then after he discusses being a plant, Epstein says the truth of being a plant is it's a reality hack. That's what I believe these two words here. He's saying, hey, look at me. I had no qualifications and I was planted in this role as a finance bro. And it's great. So don't feel bad that I'm blackmailing you and making you a plant, because the truth is it's a reality hack. And then this section here is very cryptic. Music, brain. In the video I made, I said this is axiom of Maria. I'm not 100% on that, just because since then I've learned that Epstein misspells words. So these words could be misspelled. Time equals DE / some symbols. I think this was a math equation that he had heard. Some kind of weird abstract equation about time. You know, time is relative. Time and space. Einstein proved that. Time can be two different things to two different people. So this might be some sort of cutting edge type theory on time that he's essentially using to sound smart to somebody. And then he gets back to his normal discussion, but he's like, yep, but anyway, and he draws the chalk here, and this says dark brain. So he's saying something about the brain. Now that we have the second section of the board, we got a nice little drawing of some tits here. Now that we have the second section of the board, this gets even weirder. Distribution, and then we've got, this looks like waves, okay, which waves are, I can't really get into this. I'm not super knowledgeable about this, but waves and how waves behave are kind of intertwined with reality. You know, light can be a particle or a wave. I think he's trying to explain something here, maybe about reality. This says objects. So again, he's I think he's saying something about reality here. And that, you know, axiom of Maria is a phrase in alchemy, a precept in alchemy. So I think he's, and then this says miracles here. Miracles, matrix. I mean, you know, miracles, axiom of Maria and alchemy could tie into manifestation, you know, believing something in your head and making it into existence. You know, that's why religions talk about the power of prayer and, you know, miracles here. So this is, I believe, some sort of thing about reality. And then here he says matrix, you know, talking about the matrix, like, you know, like normal people are just trapped in some sort of cycle, and people like him, elites, are breaking out of it. Waybound beauty, and then he's got some letters here, some sort of other math thing here. He's got some sort of math diagram here, CD, DC, and these different shapes. Lieb, Ghoul, Hidson, Turner, blah blah. I mean, again, he's got terrible handwriting. He writes in this half print, half cursive kind of jackass handwriting style that, I mean, makes it really hard to read. But this is super crazy that we've got a whole second half to Epstein's chalkboard message. If you guys want to see me do a full analysis or maybe just analyze this side of the board, I would be happy to do that. Leave a comment. This would be very difficult, and we'd be getting into some abstract things. But this is super cool that this was released, the second half of this chalkboard here. Really crazy. I was personally pretty happy to see that. But All right, so these are the craziest things. Now we're just going to start at the beginning, and I'm going to scroll through. That way you guys can actually see all of the pictures that are here in this collection that was just released. First thing that's kind of interesting here, here's where they broke into Epstein's house. He had an outer door to the street. This is his New York residence, by the way. He had a door that was to the outside of the street, and then he had an inner door. Here was his main residence right here. On this side was the security room. The infamous picture of Bill Clinton is right here. And then back in here, there's where the security guards sit. Here was a reception area where his secretary would have been. And then likely his office would have been somewhere back behind his secretary. And then these doors go into the main building. So interesting how this is designed right here. In the security room, as you go into it, this photo of Bill Clinton was never, people talked about it. It was kind of known that Epstein had this photo of Bill Clinton hanging up. But this is the first time that we have confirmation of it, that we can actually see it. It was never confirmed that Epstein owned this picture. And, you know, there's another one, too, people talk about with George Bush throwing a paper airplane at some Jenga blocks. That was not owned by Epstein. That was just a picture done by the same artist. I even hear Joe Rogan talking about it. Like, oh, bro, you know, he had this picture of Epstein and, you know, which, you know, it sounds cool. But, yeah, no, that was just a picture done by this same artist. Epstein did not own it. This picture was never confirmed to exist, though. That's crazy. And there's a letter. We don't see it in these pictures, but there's a letter over here written by Bill Clinton. And we cannot read it. I can't read it anyway. I would love, love, love to know what this letter from Bill Clinton that Jeffrey Epstein hung next to a painting of Bill Clinton in a dress. Okay. In a dress. I would love to know what that says. Because, let's see here. This dress is this one here that Hillary was wearing. Hillary wore this dress to some event. And that's the significance of it. The whole thing of you know, showing Epstein or showing Clinton in this dress is kind of like, I got blackmail material on you. Like, I got you in a dress. Your ass is mine. Okay. Here's the media room. It looks more like a security room, but this room was described by people who, I believe, an Epstein victim described a room where there was multiple CCTV cameras showing what was going on in the residence and people watching it. This was never confirmed to exist before these photos came out. Here it is. By the way, here's that letter from Bill Clinton. We get a much better view of it later. You guys are welcome to try to read it. You can't zoom in on it. And I believe the government did that intentionally. I believe they intentionally didn't take a picture of this, probably because it's very damning, whatever it is. Dear Jeff, please don't expose me for being a, you know, pedophile or whatever. Could be what that says, but it's all speculation, of course. Here again is the media room where he had CCTV footage going. So this would have been like the security guard area. Again, this is to the right of his... when you first walk into his New York residence. So that's kind of cool there. Here is the secretary's office. So just to the left, you know, you remember when you walked in the door of Epstein's right here, there was where the security guards were. Here to the left is where Epstein's secretary would have been. Very interesting. The guy had a secretary for his house. Okay. Lots of books around Epstein's house, by the way. If you guys were ever interested, I've thought about doing an analysis of Epstein's books and just going through and being like, hey, these are all the books that are verified at Epstein's residences. That'd be very hard to do. If you guys are interested in that, let me know, and I'd be happy to do that if there was enough interest. So if that's something you want to see, for sure, let me know. Here's something cool. You see this? This is like the old pull tab things at the bars. I don't know if you guys have ever been to a seedy bar that's had something, those pull tabs. It's also a please take a number thing. This is probably the ultimate power move some rich jerk like Epstein could pull. You would have come in here, probably been the only person in here, I'm just guessing, and the secretary would say, please take a number. And so you'd take a number and you'd sit down, and you'd have to sit down until Epstein was ready for you, and then you'd get called back. That's a huge power move, making people wait. You know, police interrogators do it. If you ever get arrested, I've never been arrested and interrogated, but if they do arrest you and interrogate you, they will put you in the interrogation room, and they'll make you stay in there for like, I don't know, 30 minutes, 2 hours, a long time, and you get bored, and there's nothing in the room that's visually stimulating, so you get antsy. You want to get out of there. You don't like it in there. Another tactic is they will make the room cold. It's either cold or hot. I think it's cold. If they make the room cold, then it makes you more likely to confess because you're uncomfortable and you want to get out there. But anyway, yes, somebody like Epstein, likely a psychopath who loves power games, loves to exert his power over people. Please take a number here in his office. What a rich jerk. Oh, the baby. Okay, where are we here? So he ships lots of stuff out. And in Epstein's black book, I talk about this in one of my videos, he has like FedEx offices numbers. I don't know what he would have been shipping out. This is a thing of craft paper, which is used for shipping, tape, packing peanuts. Who knows what he was shipping out. They did find a lot of so-called commercial CSAM, child abuse material, on his computers, which likely wouldn't have been for him because the guy was, you know, getting jerked off like 3 times a day. Like, when is he going to have time to look at that stuff? It was probably for other people that he would sell to. So maybe he's mailing off, this is a big roll of craft paper to mail off a USB stick, but that could have been one thing he was mailing. In his black book from 2005, Epstein's black book, there's a section in there under FedEx where he lists the Johannesburg, South Africa's FedEx office's number, which that to me is super interesting because obviously he was shipping things to Johannesburg, South Africa so frequently that he needed that number in his contact book. And South Africa and Israel actually came to a nuclear agreement in like the 70s, 80s. They basically developed a nuclear weapon together. This isn't talked about a lot, but it happened. South Africa later gave up their nuclear weapons after Nelson Mandela took over. Israel has not. They probably have over 200-300 nuclear weapons today. But interesting there that Epstein was doing so much shipping of things to South Africa that he had that number in there. To me, that's an interesting little nugget. But he does a lot with FedEx, which I find interesting. Here again, we got old Billy Clinton. We'll look at the Bill Clinton pictures. There's some cool ones here. All right, so this is just more things of his secretary. Here's something interesting. Fire and Fury. This is a book by Michael Wolff about the Trump White House. So the Trump White House of 2016. So interesting that he has this book here. And then this up here, Toffel Ibit. This is it's either a study book or the actual test. It's an English proficiency test that's used for various employment agencies and like people, if they want to test how proficient you are in English, they give you this test here. So interesting, Epstein has that in here, along with 3 copies of Fire and Fury. From all accounts, him and Trump, people talk about Trump, and I throw up pictures of him and Trump all the time just because it's juicy. I mean, you got the president of the United States with Jeffrey Epstein. Like, that's an interesting thing. But I don't believe Trump was involved. I believe Trump and Epstein hated each other, and Epstein clearly hated Trump. There's lots of evidence for that. Epstein was texting with Senator Plaskett. I think her name's Claire Plaskett. He was texting her questions to ask Trump. They're very clearly rivals. Post like the year 2000, they're very clearly rivals. Here is when you open up the doors to Epstein's house. You walk into this right here. And there is, here, I'm going to zoom. We can't go through every one of these pictures. I would love to. I really like this table, by the way. This is an awesome table. That cut of marble or stone or whatever would be very valuable. So here's something that's interesting. You see that I've seen this picture. This is right. The door to the front door is going to be back in here. This picture right here sold for not that much money. It estimated to sell between $300 and $500. Of course, this is some sort of art website. Gosh, it sold not that long ago, man. Oh, but nobody knew. Nobody knew that this was the Epstein painting. It came out later that this was the Epstein painting. I mean, you would have had to have been on this website. It's called invaluableart.com. Yeah, I think it went for like $350. So you could have legit owned that painting that was hanging in Epstein's. Which I would have loved that, man. That'd be so cool. But anyway, Epstein's got another weird thing in here. This. Right on his staircase here, he's got a statue of a woman wearing a bride's outfit rappelling down a rope. He's got so much weird stuff, weird symbolistic crap. Like, who knows what this is supposed to mean? It may be a runaway bride theme. I heard somebody say Princess Diana, too. I don't know. But he had some weird taste, okay? I mean, just look at this here. Like, what would you call this theme in here? He's got leopard chairs, a picture of Charles Darwin, a gong. Like, what do you... This is like some 80s Scarface shit right here. Man, I'd like to know what's on this little fucking easel here. It almost looks like a child-sized easel, which there is evidence in here, guys, of Epstein with very small children. Like, I'm talking 5 years old. 4 or 5 years old, which that has never been reported on before. Before this, it was all like 14, 15, 16. This is the first time you see Epstein with some very young girls, and there's not many images of it. And I don't think the government really wants this out, because my guess would be there would be much more outrage. I think there is a little bit of a, because these girls were 14, and I'm not trying to downplay this at all, but that is seen as not as terrible as like for a 5-year-old. You know what I mean? So I think the government's trying to maybe contain some outrage there. But that's just my opinion here. Here's some of his kitchen and stuff. He had multiple kitchens in this New York house of his. I love this, by the way. He's got a chair. And I've seen this before. People that have chairs on landings of staircases. Like, you're so fucking out of shape and fat that you've got to walk up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 steps, and then you're like, shoo, I need a break. Like, if I ever get that out of shape, I don't know, man. It would not be good for me. If you're so out of shape, you need to fucking sit your fat ass down, climbing up 10 steps, like, man. So these are like the main stairs. This is going to be like a fire escape. I believe all buildings in New York City have to have a fire escape. So that's why this is like kind of shitty looking, as opposed to these grand foyer kind of stairs here. I find this very weird. He's got a patio table with some chairs around it inside, and he's got the umbrella open. Like, you're inside. I've always been told that you're not supposed to do this. You're not supposed to open up umbrellas inside the house. But, I don't know. Again, just weird. He's got a lot of weird crap. Here's like a study. That's a Steinway piano, of course, nicest pianos. Some sort of, African art. Maybe some 17th, 18th century brass telescopes. Nothing really of consequence in here, but I just thought I would show it to you guys because it's, I don't know. To me, it's kind of cool to see how the rich and powerful, like the kind of stuff they have in his home. And some of his rooms, like I said, are super fucking tacky. Ooh, I never noticed that before. That's a horned horned-in table. But some of these rooms are, and we'll see this here in a little bit, some of these rooms are so incredibly tacky. And it's like, you're a freaking billionaire and you're going to have this kind of crap up. This is going to be the study. You see, this is victim picture here redacted. This is going to be his study where you see him talking to Steve Bannon in that infamous picture. This magazine here, we'll get a more close-up of this in a little bit. Maybe not. I'll just show it to you guys now. This magazine, I actually found it. Here it is. It is Life Magazine, January 19th, 1953. And it's an original. That you can see here, and there's better pictures of it later on in this, but this is an original 1953 magazine. And I have no idea why he has this in here. I would imagine there's maybe something in here. Like maybe somehow this residence that he lives in is in this magazine. And there's something in here about the Vanderbilts. Churchill takes a vacation. Look down before I jumped. Editorial. But there's something in here about the Vanderbilts, I believe. Yeah. Or women of the Ford family. There's something in there about the Vanderbilts. I'm not going to look it up again, but it's very weird that this one particular, well, which you guys can buy it now here for $15 if you want. If my live goes viral, though, you probably the cost will go up if people know that this was on Epstein's desk. But maybe I'll buy that and go through it. If you guys want to see that, donate $15 to my stream, and I'll buy this thing, and we'll go through it together. But I thought that was very interesting. I would love to know the story behind that. But just look at this kind of, man, you want to talk about some fuck you money. Some of the stuff in here, he's got a stuffed tiger in here, by the way, a legit stuffed tiger. Kind of wild. You want to talk about and a stuffed dog too. Which, I don't know, man. Maybe that's a thing that rich people do, stuff their dogs and put them up. I think that's kind of weird. These things, dude, I would be willing to bet these things are at least $20,000. I mean, this is like carved, inlaid brass. It's probably antique. Once again, man, I mean, that's why I think this kind of stuff's cool. Going through, looking at this, and then we'll contrast this to some of his guest bedrooms in here. Just how fancy this room is, and then just how incredibly cheap. We'll probably have to scroll through this stuff. There's some paintings up there that we can't see. Here's the bathroom adjacent to Epstein's infamous massage room. So this would be the bathroom he would have retreated to after receiving his 2 to 3 massages a day. It looks like there's a steam room in here. So yes, this would be Epstein's massage room bathroom. Kind of wild. Here is where they found his safe. It looks like it's been cleaned up in this picture. We see the safe not cleaned up in some other images, but this is the room where they found that safe in. Here's something I find interesting. Part of his residence was under construction, which I wonder if they were pulling bugs out, because similar to his island and the 5-week gap after his arrest before the raid, he also, like, the noose was tightening around him. Like, throughout the 2010s, 2014, 2015, 16, 17, the pressure on Epstein was ratcheting up. Like, I think it started to become more and more clear to him that that these legal troubles weren't going to go away, because his 2005 non-prosecution agreement was illegal. It was so good, it was illegal. And people have started to realize that and were asking questions. And, he had a lot of money, yes, but there was just a lot of shit that was out there that was public in these court cases, and the noose was tightening around him. We see in here, I don't know if I'll be able to find it for you, but in this document trove, or these pictures, there's a letter from the U.S. Virgin Islands to Jeffrey Epstein dated March of 2019. So this would have been March, April, May, June, July, 4 months before his arrest, saying that he was not allowed to leave the Virgin Islands without giving written declaration to the Virgin Islands government of, this is what I'm doing, this is where I'm going. And this was 3-4 months before his arrest. So the noose, my point with all this is, the noose around Epstein was tightening. And yes, there was a 5-week gap between his arrest and the raid on his island. He probably had years of time to actually prepare for his eventual arrest. So makes me wonder here, guys, what's going on with this remodel here in his New York residence. Of course, it could just be a regular remodel. This could just be, he's rich. I mean, look at the stone back here too, by the way, these grand doors. He's just rich and he just runs out of shit to spend his money on, and but to me, interesting that a remodel is going on here. All right, look at this room, guys. This room is so goddamn tacky. This is what I mean by, some of his shit in his house looks so nice. This room is so unsettling. Interesting, the drapes match his temple. The temple on his island. I don't even know what this thing is. Maybe I'm just so poor I don't This is like a little roller. It's like a roller on an ottoman. I don't know. To me, this room is weird. I don't like the blue theme. I don't like these flowers. These are like poppy flowers, which poppies are what you make opium from. This is such a weird room to me. Blue table, blue this, blue here. It's just super, super unsettling. If I was in this room, I would not feel good. I would not want to be here. And that's what the vibe I get from most of these rooms in his house. I just do not like them. For whatever reason, they just give me a bad vibe. I don't know. Tell me what you guys think. But to me, and look at contrast this to maybe not the floor, but look at these walls. Nice wood inlay. And then you got this shit. I don't know. Weird to me. And look at this room, furthering my point here. Look how fucking ugly that is. Pink and green. And then he's got this $10,000 dresser right here. Very weird, guys. Very, very weird. I don't know if maybe that's creepy. I don't know if I probably shouldn't show that stuff on YouTube too long, but very weird. I don't know if his rooms were meant to be unsettling. That's the vibe I get. Look at this headboard. And these colors here. I mean, this is like grandma's house bedroom final form. All that's missing is the picture of Jesus on the wall watching you jerk off. Grandma's house final form. I don't know. To me, this is just weird and unsettling, and I don't like it. And I wonder if he did that on purpose to make his guests feel. And the models, the women that he was associated with, he would let them stay in his residence. Ehud Barak stayed here for a few months. So lots of people would have been staying in these residences here. And he had 10 other apartments that women would stay in. I mean, the guy was, in my opinion, like a pimp. He was like a high class pimp. And in addition to getting money for his pimping services, he also would record these encounters with these rich, powerful people and then use it to extort them. Probably not straight up extortion, because I think people would have gotten really mad at that. And they would have been like, I already paid you once, why am I going to pay you again? That's what extortion is. Give me money or I'm going to release this information. I think he used the information as blackmail. Like, do something for me. You owe me a favor now. Because I don't think people are paying twice. Or if they did, they'd be very upset. But furthering my point, look how unsettling this room is. Doesn't it just seem like, I don't know, this one's a little bit better than the others. But this doesn't seem cozy to me. Does this seem like, if you walked into a motel room and this is what it looked like, you would be like, oh my sweet holy God. At least I would. Unsettling. And I don't know if that was on purpose. Here's the gym in Casa de Epstein. He's got a carpeted floor on his gym. I mean, come on, man. Like, rip the carpet up and put some tile down. Machines, of course. No free weights. which, by the way, guys, do not use machines to work out. Use free weights. You're much better off. You will injure yourself on machines. I've never injured myself, but free weights, you're actually balancing the weight yourself, and that is how human beings have lifted weights for, hundreds of thousands of years, as you would have been self-balancing. Machines balance the weight for you. They force you into unnatural positions, and you will injure yourself. I am not a fan of machines. You should learn how to do barbell and dumbbell exercises properly, because you will injure yourself if you don't do them properly. But anyway, this isn't a video about that, but don't use machines like Epstein. He also has a bunch of boxing gear in here, which that's interesting. I mean, did he box people? Look at all these Everlast shoes in here. I mean, how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pairs of boxing shoes and some boxing gloves up there. Weird. I didn't know Epstein was so into boxing. Of course, we got some gymnast stuff in here. He liked Eastern European women, who they're known for gymnast kind of culture. He also had another gym adjacent that has a hardwood polished floor. Really, really bad to put these kinds of machines on there. But yeah, just a weird gym. Very brown. Another unsettling room to further my point. I mean, just look at this. The guy's a billionaire. You remember his study with all the wood and the tigers and the 17th century paintings, and then you got this frickin'. I'd like to know what these books are here. These look interesting. Gold on the outside, but just tacky. Tacky. Apparently, I heard the Playboy Mansion was like this too. That Hugh Hefner was just an old cheapskate and had tacky, crappy furniture in there that he would make the girls live in these tacky rooms. Probably crap like this. Mismatched. This thing right here is like a printer, like a giant printer. Like you could print out huge posters, or it's like a professional printer. So interesting that he has this up here. Maybe if people want copies of his artwork or pictures of a young woman or whatever, he can provide that for them. But I mean, this thing is, $5,000-$10,000 probably. Not that that matters to him. Here's something interesting. These are, and we get a closer up look at them later. These are, I believe, printouts of what are like photos that are in some of the CDs, because we see this at the bottom of the Epstein files, groups of thumbnails. And by the way, those thumbnails, some of those thumbnails show images that could have been released by the government, but they haven't. Like there's one picture of Bill Clinton that's in there that the government could have released, but they haven't. I saw it in there. I can't actually go through and show you guys because there's a lot of it's really weird. Like some of the stuff in those images shows like underage girls in their underwear. Like they've redacted their face, but sometimes you see them in like their bra and panties, and it's so weird. It's like, why did you let that come out? Oh, here's some sex toys. That's nice. Yeah, we probably can't. We probably need to stay down here. Alrighty. Here's the safe. We see this safe later after it's been busted open. We'll be sure to check that out. Here again, here's a close-up, and here's what I'm talking about. The things on these binders, you can see if you go to the bottom of the Epstein files, the new release, you'll be able to see these thumbnails. And these same redactions exist there. Which, by the way, they're only supposed to be redacting names of active investigations and victims. So these better all be frickin' victims' names here. I really think to Congress, or maybe at least to Thomas Massie, they need to release this stuff unredacted. That way Thomas Massie can go through and tell us if they're being truthful. Of course they're not. There's some of these images in here, guys, especially when you get to the spicier stuff, entire images are redacted, which that is not in the spirit of the law. There's one image of Les Wexner where he's clearly with a victim, and they redact the entire half of that image. They redact the entire image of the victim, so we can't see how old she is. We can't, it's just redacted, which that is not in the spirit of the law, and to me that's bullshit. A lot of these redactions to me are suspicious. Very suspicious also that we do not see a lot of Zorro Ranch. Zorro Ranch, a lot of people think was, like, people say human cloning. By the way, this is where the staff would have been hanging out. This is the staff area, I believe, this black and white checkered floor. Zorro Ranch, people say there was human cloning going on out there. I don't know. I think maybe that's where some of the younger, like, below age of 10 girls were. I think some weird stuff did go on at Zorro Ranch. We never raided Zorro Ranch. There was never a single police boot on the ground at Zorro Ranch. This is a ironing machine, by the way. This is his industrial. He had like an industrial laundry in his. I mean, it was basically like a motel that he had here. But Zorro Ranch, very weird. Here's the basement. Okay. Here's what they sawed out of his safe the night of his raid, okay? He had multiple passports in here. And this is a red passport. This could have been the passport. There was an Australian passport that listed a Saudi Arabian address for him. Let's see here. Australian passport. So here's what I think is weird. If we look here, a burgundy Australian passport is a diplomatic passport. So, and this is definitely a passport here. Now, lots of other countries have a red passport. Lots of Eastern European countries have red passports, but very interesting there. And I know the government has an image of this passport. They should have released it in this document trove. I 100% know the government's in possession of it because they mention it in court documents. They deny Epstein bail in his 2019 court proceedings. And the justification they use is all these passports that they found here. Which, by the way, none of this evidence that they find the night of the raid is seized. They photograph it and they leave and they come back 2 days later and it's gone. Same thing with his island. 5-week fucking gap between his arrest and the raid on his island. So all the evidence we have of Epstein is stuff he allowed to be collected, or it's just a lot of it's just a sham. But there's still some damning stuff in there. Don't get me wrong. Either stuff Epstein allowed to be collected, or there was just so much shit that they couldn't get rid of everything and they missed some stuff. That's possible too. This safe, there was cash and there was diamonds found in here. Which Epstein was, kind of like a gangster. He was an arms dealer, an arms trafficker. He was a Wall Street finance bro. He dealt in blackmail and extortion. He was basically a thug, a gangster. And all gangsters keep getaway money in their house. Okay, if you ever watch the movie about Frank Lucas with Denzel Washington, Frank's got getaway money. All right. Money that you could just grab quickly and leave. And that's what he had in here. And diamonds, because diamonds are condensed wealth. $10,000 in hundreds is like that much, $10,000 in diamonds is just one little fucking speck. So diamonds can be, if you go through customs of a country, and you have more than $10,000 on your person, you have to declare it, and then they start asking you questions about it or whatever. If you want to just walk through an airport with a lot of money, one way to do that is diamonds. You can sew the diamonds into your clothes. I guess I've never done it. I don't play these games, but that's one reason why rich people carry diamonds is they are condensed wealth, even smaller than money, lighter than gold. You're able to just take them places, but this passport here, getting back to what I was saying, I know the government is in possession of the full passport the full Australian passport. We don't see it in here. They could have showed it to us, and they don't. So that is one piece of evidence the government has not shown us that they need to show us, because they're only supposed to be redacting victims and ongoing investigations. A passport from the 80s that Jeffrey Epstein used to enter multiple countries is not anything that needs to be redacted. That needs to be made public. That's bullshit. They didn't put that out. Also, you see how many other passports he has, okay? The reason that you do this, and Epstein, there's multiple instances of him applying for a new passport, saying he lost his old one. He just keeps reapplying for passports and getting more passports. The reason you do this is because if you, and my uncle travels a lot, he told me this, if you go through customs of certain countries and they open your passport up and you've got like 20 different egress stamps, like 20 different visas, and they can see in the last 3 years you've been to Saudi Arabia and Iraq and Iran and China and Russia and Sudan and Somalia and Belarus and all these places, and now all of a sudden you want to go to like France. They're going to be like, what have you been doing the last 3 years that you've been going to all these countries? They're going to think you're a spy or a spook, or they're going to think you're an arms trafficker, or they're going to think that you're up to no good, basically. Unless you're like going to, clearly a tourist or something. But if you're going to a lot of weird countries, they can see that in your passport and they'll deny you entry. A big country, my uncle told me this, a big country that they don't like to see passport stamps from is Israel. If you have an Israeli passport stamp in your passport, you are not allowed to go to a lot of countries. A lot of Muslim countries won't let you in. And so people that go to Israel, you can ask the Israeli, when you go through customs, you can ask Israeli customs to put a page in your passport book and put a stamp in that, like put an extra page in and stamp it. That way you can take it out. They don't always like to do that, but they'll ask you, why do you want that? But they will do that for you. And if you try to rip pages of your passport book out, obviously that's noticeable, and that's even more suspicious than going through customs with a bunch of passport stamps in. So the best way to avoid these questions is you get some passport stamps in your passport book that look suspicious. Oops, hey, I lost my passport, give me a new one. That's why Epstein likely was applying for a new passport constantly, because he was traveling a lot. He was probably selling arms. He was an arms trafficker, and that's what he was involved with. Anand Khashoggi, the arms trafficker. He was involved with Iran-Contra. Just a lot of really seedy stuff. He got his start in finance, and then he moved into arms trafficking, and then he moved into blackmail, and then he got so prolific with it, he got caught. Here's something interesting too. The title block over here is redacted, okay? There is absolutely zero reason to redact the title block of architectural plans. Look at this. They are only supposed to be redacting victims' names and ongoing investigations. This is going to be like the who owns these properties. Why are we redacting this? I actually know who owns these properties, guys. It's a company called Maple Inc. Maple Inc. was a U.S. Virgin Islands-based shell company used by Jeffrey Epstein to hold the title to his Manhattan mansion. He bought this mansion from Leslie Wexner for $0. Nothing suspicious there, right? $0. And that's likely, I don't know what else it says here, but that's usually what's in the title block of architectural plans, is who owns them. They should not be redacting this stuff. Okay? These are illegal redactions that are happening here. Once again, they just, I don't know why the government does this. There's literally a law passed saying they have to release these files, and they're still dragging their feet with it. Okay, here's what I'm talking about. You see the pictures kind of loop back around. These are different photographers going through and taking multiple pictures. Here's that safe again. This is an image that we already had. likely where the diamonds and cash were here, along with his fake Australian passport with a Saudi Arabian address. Goddamn, Bill! Alright, here's old Billy Clinton again in his dress. And we can see much better this letter here. Right? See that letter? Let's zoom in on it. Goddamn, Bill! See how it starts out? I believe that says Jeffrey. And then that looks like a B from being signed by Bill Clinton. Once again, I freaking know the government took a picture of this. Who wouldn't? You're an FBI or New York police photographer, and you see a handwritten letter from Bill Clinton next to a picture of Bill Clinton in a goddamn dress. You're taking a fucking picture of this. And the fact that we don't have this letter is absolute bullshit. Okay? Here, I do actually have, here's Bill Clinton's handwriting. Here's a letter that he wrote to Epstein. We can see how he signed it. Bill Clinton, Jeffrey. I can't read it, a lot of it, because it's cursive. But this was in Epstein's birthday book. I can't, to be clear, guys, I can read cursive. I don't like it. It's not, and Bill Clinton's cursive is hard to read, to me, anyway. Oh, hey, what's this? I never... Anyway, sorry, I'm getting distracted. Getting distracted by more Epstein birthday book stuff, but that is clearly Bill Clinton's. Look at how it starts out. Jeffrey. I mean, you tell me. That's Bill Clinton's handwriting, and this isn't the same note. I counted the lines in here. You can see this is clearly 2 paragraphs. Multiple lines versus this. This is something that we need to have here. I want this. Of all the shit, and well, I shouldn't say that of all the shit in the Epstein files, but this is one of the main things I would like to know. What was in this letter next to Bill Clinton picture in a dress? So, we'll, yeah. Old Bill, man. Bill is implicated in these Epstein files. Again, here's going to be his secretary's office and the guard's office. Just kind of briefly scroll through here. And we don't have close-ups of these. I would like these. That's obviously Epstein and the Pope. Epstein and maybe a Saudi Arabian guy. There's Epstein with Trump. Interesting that he had this picture out, being as he hated Trump. I believe this is Epstein and Bill Clinton right here. But we need close-ups of all these. I don't... bullshit, we don't have that. Absolute bullshit. That's a dumbwaiter. That's a pretty 90s thing to have in your house, a dumbwaiter. In one of the Home Alone movies, they have a dumbwaiter. Here's that chick in the dress again. Very, very weird thing. Here's the image of hard drives with evidence tape around them that was missing when the FBI came back 2 days after this raid. Because, again, they just took pictures of this stuff and left. Guys, if you're commenting in real time and I'm not getting to you, I can't see the comments. I closed out of the... let's see. Oh, I got a few people watching. Cool. But I can't see your comments in real time. I'm really sorry. Look at this here. Here's a close-up of it. Here we can clearly see these hard drives were tampered with. You see that? Somebody opened these boxes of hard drives before the FBI got here. So likely there wouldn't have been anything. I mean, I'm sure they knew the FBI was on their way. But very interesting here that these hard drives, were tampered with. So... But that's one thing. Here's something that's weird. This image of this, he's got this lion eating a gazelle here, which that's something that some sort of power-hungry jerk, I would imagine, would find awesome. Oh, let me get a stone statue of this strong animal murdering another one. I get it. It's how the world works. It's how nature works. But this isn't something I would want up in my house that I would see every day. Like, yes, it's how the world works, but that doesn't mean I need it as decor in my house. You know what I'm saying? Like, to me, that's weird. And it just shows you what kind of person Epstein was. It just shows you that he was kind of a, sociopathic, power-hungry jerk. Here's that magazine I was telling you about, a better close-up of it. Life magazine, January 19th, 1953. Don't ask me how I found that out. I did a Google reverse image search. It's actually not hard, but there must be something about Epstein's residence that's in there. Why else would he have? And that's an original copy. Why else would he have this here? Unless somebody put it there in 1953 and then just nobody asked why, and it's just been sitting there since. But somehow I doubt that. All right, we're gonna have to scroll through some of these things, some of these victim pictures. We can't be showing that stuff on YouTube. Really weird. Again, just unsettling rooms in his house. Really weird. Don't know why he had all this. We're going to be getting to his island here pretty soon. A lot of these pictures are duplicates, or they're just, whatever. Here's the staff area yet again. And we're going to go through this whole trove, guys. So here's the basement of Epstein's house. Interesting, too, when you look at these pictures of servers, you can see servers accumulate dust. Computers accumulate dust. And we can see it looks like we had years of dust build up, and then all of a sudden it got disturbed. And this isn't the most damning one, but there's, especially on his island, we can see that a lot. So that's something interesting that I like to look at. Here's some of the photos again that we can see. Epstein and the Pope. I really want some close-ups of these. My opinion, quite the travesty that we don't have that. All right, we're going to see a lot of duplicates here. We're going to scroll down. Now we're at the island, okay? There's multiple photographers here at the island. Here's the room. If you see any of my videos where I always talk about the remodel that happened, here's the room this remodel happened. And here's a picture of a baby in a sink, okay? That's really, really weird that they didn't take that down, or they essentially remodeled this room and then they put that picture up. Which leads me to believe it's a red herring. Ha ha ha, look at how spooky this is. Something to kind of throw you off the trail, this picture of a baby. We're not going to zoom in on it. I don't know if I can show that on YouTube, but if you want to see it, this, by the way, what I'm looking at, here is the URL. Okay. And I actually have this in the description of the video as well. This is not the official government website. This guy made this on Twitter. I should be shouting him out. Ian Carroll shouted him out today in his stream, which was really cool. But this guy made this viewer, which just makes it so much easier to go through these documents and these pictures. Here's something too. Of course, Epstein's Island, we see yet more remodeling activity. I mean, why am I the only person that talks about the remodel on Epstein's Island? I swear to God. Like, do people not just... I think people just don't put effort into it. Like, they don't notice it, or they... maybe I just really go deep into this stuff. I don't know. But more remodel activity on Epstein's Island. This drop cloth and this ladder. This isn't stuff that the FBI brought in, guys. This is how they found these rooms. Here's like a dehumidifier. This is how they found these rooms. Okay? Look at this. They're clearly in here ripping shit out. And I'll go over the stuff. I talked about it in the beginning of the stream. I'll briefly touch on it here. The gym that I believe was a strip club on Epstein's Island. But just so weird that so much stuff was allowed to happen here on the island. These are around his pool, these little cabanas. I would imagine these would be like where his teeny bopper friends would stay, these small little nooks. And then the larger houses would be reserved for the, millionaires and billionaires. More remodel activity in here. Yet again, we've got a squirrel cage fan, another squirrel cage fan. We've got a shop vac, dehumidifier, drop cloths. I mean, just the guy had a whole fucking construction crew working it. Look at all this crap that's piled up on this bed. Once again, I mean, do you think this is how Epstein left this stuff? Do you think this is what it looked like when Epstein was here last? No. And these people here on this island have had, I keep saying it, 5 weeks. 5 goddamn weeks from Epstein's arrest, and this is the kind of stuff they're doing. They're in here remodeling this stuff, throwing crap up, you know, getting rid of all the bugs, getting rid of all the surveillance equipment. Yep, more ladders. I mean, just... yeah, here's what it's supposed to look like. Here's one of those cabanas all fixed up. They just likely didn't have time to completely clean everything and fix it up, because his island got raided right after Epstein unalived himself in prison. So, like, I don't know if that happened. Maybe that wasn't planned out. Maybe they had to rush everything, and then it was like, oh my God, you guys really need to clean this island up. They're coming. And so that's why you get crap like this, you know. But, and then again, the gym, what I think's a strip club, who knows, maybe it was a gym, but they don't have a floor in it. They ripped the goddamn floor out of the place. So, I mean, what do you think was in there that they had to rip the floor out? More server rooms in Epstein's, on Epstein Island here. Really bad cable management, I must say. Bad cable management. Again, look at the dust here. Recently disturbed dust. So, of course, there was surveillance equipment. See this disturbed dust up here? And this isn't even the most damning one. There's some disturbed dust here. Really, yep, see that down there? They're in there removing surveillance equipment. Here's the industrial laundry at Isle de Epstein. More blue rooms. I guess he just, like, blue, I think, was the theme of his island. A lot of the interiors have this blue theme. We saw that at his New York residence as well. Yeah, that's real fucking nice there. Hand grabbing a child's hand. Good one, Epstein. Here's cool. So in here we can see, I don't know if it's here, he had New York Police Department jackets. Maybe it's down later. This is a skincare machine. Like some sort of, I don't know, spa exfoliator. I looked it up. It's like a skincare machine. And we'll see that infamous, oh, here's some lions eating a gazelle again. I guess that's a pretty important thing for Epstein. And this is, again, going into the library where we saw that cryptic message. At the beginning of my stream, I went over that. If you guys are just joining us here, I went over the second half of Epstein's cryptic chalkboard message. And I think he would bring people into this library to explain to them how he was going to blackmail them. And what do they see right as they first go in? They see 2 predators chasing a weaker animal. What's the symbolism here? Well, they are the weak animal and Epstein is the predator. My opinion. My opinion on the symbolism there. But yes, we talked about this at the beginning of that message over there. Here are some different pictures of it. See what I was talking about in the beginning of the stream, guys? How this chalkboard opens up. So either these chalkboard messages are a red herring, you know, a fake clue, or this chalkboard was opened up and they didn't realize that these messages were there. The people on the island didn't. And then when the police came, they saw them. I don't know, though. I do not know. We would have to get testimony from the people who raided the island. But here's Epstein's study. I'll probably need to get out of here. We're going to get into some victim pictures here. This is super weird. Again, they had 5 weeks. They could have taken this stuff down and they leave it up. Why? What's this room? What's up with the dental chair? You know, in my video fact checking Ian Carroll, Ian says that maybe they were removing teeth of basically dead people here. To me, that seems unlikely because you could just like hit someone with a rock or a sledgehammer in the mouth. It would get rid of their teeth. I don't know what this was. Epstein did have a dental chair. We see in his 2005 raid of his Palm Beach residence, he had a dental chair. So it could be they're destroying DNA evidence, you know, after a blowjob, give you some mouthwash, kill the DNA in there. Or maybe something else. But victims also talk about this dental chair. Maybe it was used in some sort of weird dental fantasy. Here in this room, we have the masks up. Maybe they made masks on this chair. Again, I know I keep talking about it. 5-week gap after his arrest before the raid. So if this was incriminating, they would have had time to take this down. So the reason that it's still up, I don't know. They look kind of cartoony. But a thing that people used to do, it was really popular in like the Victorian era, was people would make death masks. After someone would have died, they would put plaster of Paris over their face, and they would make a mask of what they looked like right as they died. It's since fallen out of favor because it's creepy. But maybe they're death masks. Who knows? I doubt it. I really do. I think this is just supposed to look creepy and weird and be like a red herring. That's really what I think it's a red herring. Because again, 5-week gap. This is outside of his library right here. Voss water. You see Voss water throughout this entire, you see Voss water on tables and stuff. It's like a really fancy water from like a fucking European spring. I don't know. It's like a rich jackass water. Like rich jackasses drink Voss water, I guess. If you guys like Voss water, cool. But here's that note I was telling you guys about. Basically it says, "Dear Mr. Epstein, you can't leave the Virgin Islands. The United States Virgin Island Department of Justice understands that your business activities require you to make frequent trips outside of the territory of the United States destinations and international destinations." Sorry, this is blurry for me as well as you. "While permissions were granted in the past upon careful review and circumstances, blah blah, conditions to which must now comply, notification of any travel outside of the U.S. Virgin Islands must be provided in person. Notification by email can only serve as something. You are required to appear in person at U.S. Virgin Islands something." So basically these are travel restrictions placed on Epstein. March 14th, 2019. March, April, May, June, July. Yes, I have to count on my fingers like a child. 4 months before his arrest, he got this letter. So this is what I'm saying, guys. The noose around Epstein was tightening. Okay? He would been feeling the heat. So he had even more time to start destroying evidence that like hella implicated him. Okay? He knew this was probably coming. And you know, you want to go into the whole did he kill himself thing? I've been thinking a lot about this. And I tried to stay away from it for a while. But he had blackmail material. Here's his sex offender register. He had blackmail material on so many people. He could have put out what's called a dead man switch. Okay? He could have sent this blackmail material to people in his circle, people like Mark, his brother, people like Ghislaine, all kinds of people saying, if anything happens to me, release this blackmail material. That's a dead man switch. The fact that nothing like that happened. And then there's even people, like there's only a couple images of Epstein's body that was taken by the New York Post. And, you know, they say this is definitely Epstein's handwriting. Who knows what he's talking about here? These are sketches that he, you know, doodles. But the fact that that didn't happen and these more Epstein handwriting, it makes me think. And those images we have of Epstein's body, people say the earlobes don't match. He very well could have had his death faked, a body put in there, and then Epstein got evacuated somewhere. I think there is a greater than 0% chance that happened. This is super crazy. Okay, I couldn't find this earlier. Here is a aerial view of what I assume he wanted one of his islands to look like. Here's like a conceptual drawing. And here we can see another temple. All right, you see that? I wonder, and there's more conceptual drawings in here of his islands. I think one of them's, I don't know if this is Little Saint or Great St. James. But we see a temple. I think this might be Little St. James. God, look at how many of them are here, too, of these conceptual drawings. We need more. I want to see more of these concept drawings. What more was he planning on this island that he already spent millions and millions to develop? Guys, and by the way, my opinion on this island, this was not a house of Epstein's. This wasn't just his house that he invited people to every now and then. This was a sex resort, like Sandals Resort. This was a all-inclusive sex resort that was staffed with, he had multiple staffers, multiple houses, landscapers, construction workers, the amount of appliances here that would be breaking down, needing fixed, electrical work, plumbing work. The amount of money that it would take to run a private island. Even having a private island that is just your own house costs a lot of money. But a private island that all this crap that he had on it. He was running a resort and these people that were coming here were paying him. That is my opinion. Anyway, really cool concept art there with a new temple. Never before seen Epstein concept art. Here's just some of this stuff's really crazy. He's got like sketches in here and notes. Here's the police uniforms. Police department, City of New York. He's got on his fucking island. Now, if these things had badges on them, I don't know if they'd be legal with badges, because that would be impersonating a police officer. Or maybe the badges aren't necessarily illegal to have on their own, but if you use them to impersonate a police officer, they're legal. He's got several. Now, he did have to hire his own private security, special police. He had to hire his own private security after his 2008 conviction that not posed as, but acted like police officers. So maybe that's what this is from. Maybe he's just got some Halloween costumes. I don't know. Awfully sus that he's got New York Police Department uniforms. Again, more sketches. Okay, here's something that's crazy. I'll bet you'll not see this anywhere besides me. In this, these are, I believe he's mapping out a social network here. Because this is, guys, you have to understand, Epstein trafficked in information and blackmail and sphere of influence. He was up there with in these power games of politicians, really rich people, like the people who actually run the world. Like Epstein was plugged into this, okay? And I believe here he's mapping out a social network. Now, do you guys see anything super crazy? Elon. He was and we see in Epstein's emails to Ehud Barak, I believe he did have a meeting with Peter Thiel, and he was trying to get in with Elon. There are some, now guys, let me preface this by saying I like Elon Musk. I think he is probably the best billionaire we have. He's not a billionaire like Epstein and a lot of the others who, just lavish themselves and are all about decadence and flaunting their wealth. Elon slept under his desk at Tesla. He lives in this crappy little, when he goes to SpaceX, he's just got a normal average house. He's not a billionaire that self-indulges. I like Elon. And Elon is not implicated in the Epstein files at all. There is one picture of him and Ghislaine. Elon has said publicly that Ghislaine photobombed him. I believe that because they are clearly not together. Elon's taking a picture and Ghislaine's like leaning in, like she's trying to get in the photo. She's trying to maybe make an incriminating photo with him. But Elon is not implicated. But here we can see two different colors of ink. I believe the people in red are people that they have. There's Zuckerman, probably Mort Zuckerman. And then the people in black are people they're trying to collect, people they want in their sphere of influence. And here we can see in his notes, Peter Thiel and Elon Musk. He's trying to get them. And in that email of between Ehud and Epstein, he's talking about trying to get at Elon. They wanted to court Elon, but Elon is way too smart to be courted by, a gangster. that's what Epstein was. He was a gangster. Here is a letter from a victim. She's actually very, we can read it. It's like, I love you so much, basically. Thank you. You've helped me out so much. We're not going to read it. It basically, she's thanking Epstein, thanking him for introducing him to people. And that's what these are too. Not every woman that Epstein dealt with despised him. A lot of them liked him. But there's mixed. Some of the victim testimony is not super awesome. And I know I've said that in my yeah. What's that say, guys? Where'd he get that shirt from? I know I said in my Epstein Island drone footage video, I was like, these women were willing, and I got a lot of shit for it, honestly. Some of them were, and I'll double down on that statement. Yes, some of these women were willing, but some of the victim testimony, some of them weren't super cool with it, but a lot of them, the ones that came back a second, third, fourth time, I mean, come on. They're making good money, and I think a lot of this, too, is after this stuff came out, it's kind of like, let's pile on them, If you were an Epstein victim, oh, by the way, he wore this outfit when he met with Harvey Weinstein. There's a picture of Epstein wearing this with Harvey Weinstein. After this whole thing came out, after Epstein goes down, and after there's a victims fund, okay, if you were a woman who was associated with Epstein at all, you probably would come out and say, yep, he did stuff to me, and I want some of that money. So I believe there's part of that going on. Guys, I'm not going to do it again. At the very beginning of my stream, I talked about this second half of the chalkboard, which is a crazy thing that got released. Nobody knew there was a second part to this besides the feds. So that's crazy. It talks about miracles in here, which is, I go over this whole chalkboard at the beginning of the stream. So check that out if you're curious. I also have an entire video where I break down the first half of that chalkboard message. We'll go over nice artwork there. More remodeling activity. Here is security guards doing some rounds. July 31st, a few weeks after Epstein's arrest, before the raid, of course. We also see some of the notes of the guards of work they have to complete while Epstein is after his arrest before the raid, and they talk about the floor in the alleged gym that I believe is a strip club. We'll see that later. Here's what I mean by this place was a resort, guys. Okay, he had multiple different residences on this island. Here's one of them. This isn't the main residence. This is out. This is a different residence. Look how secluded it is too, by the way, so people on boats or wherever can't see what's going on over here. This was a resort. Appliances. He's got decorations in here. I mean, of course, all the bugs have been removed out of here. That's why it looks, you got buckets and shit in here. But this was a sex resort, guys. Here's some luggage that people. A lot of these luggage stamps are from STI, which I would imagine would be St. Thomas International. Oh, here's something that's cool, guys. This guy here. Here's something I guarantee you will only hear from me. This is a New Zealander named Philip Anthony Baker. Okay, this guy. Oh, by the way, we'll watch this real quick. I know I'm pretty ADHD, but this is an awesome video of Bill Clinton. This is Bill Clinton, the only time Bill Clinton has ever publicly addressed his relationship to Epstein.
Any comments on the alleged allegation of your connection with Jeffrey Epstein? No.
Look at that face. I think the evidence is clear. This is the only time Bill Clinton has ever addressed this personally. If you'll notice right here, he has a staffer next to him. His staffer says no. This guy is telling Bill to say no, but Bill says, I think the evidence is clear. Here's some of the evidence. This is an Epstein victim giving Bill Clinton a massage here. And here's Bill with a known Epstein victim. These are two known Epstein victims. Yes, Bill, I would say the evidence is clear. Anyway, what I was going to show you guys was this person right here. Here's my channel. By the way, I just redid this. I hope you guys like this. I spent a lot of time on that. And I did the whole, I got rid of my Illuminati eye. I thought that it was maybe time to grow up a little bit. All right, here's this guy right here. Oh, I got to watch a video on my own YouTube videos. How ironic is that? Live here. YouTube just loves to get money. Okay. Here's this guy that I talk about in this video. This is the famous video where people think this is Epstein right here. This is that guy, Philip Anthony Baker. I'm pretty sure. Okay. You see him once here, and then on the water, this is Rusty Shackelford's drone footage. But love to know who this guy is. This is Epstein's employees getting a delivery after in the gap of time between his arrest and the raid. His employees are getting this delivery here. You can see the preview down there. But we see this guy, Philip Anthony Baker. There he is, right there. And boom! Gotcha, homeboy. That is totally this guy. Totally. That's totally him. Gotcha, bro. So, we know this guy's actual name. This fucking guy needs to be fucking brought under... Oh, you can't see because I'm right here. Sorry about that, guys. There he is. Sorry, I didn't realize you guys couldn't see that. This guy needs to be brought in Congress under oath. He, like, ran the island, him or his wife. He was definitely involved in it. So the government knows the people that were involved in this, guys. The government knows these people. And the fact that he has not been brought in to testify. We got his goddamn driver's license and passport. We know who the fuck he is. Let's talk to him. Let's ask him what he was doing unloading pallets from an overseas container weeks after Epstein's arrest. What's the people doing here on the island? But yeah, I bet you nobody besides me will have doxed that guy by now. Maybe in a little bit, but pretty crazy. Hope you guys like that. Ooh, look at the shredder. Wonder what's in there. Here is, okay, some of y'all that like to talk about the tunnels on Epstein's Island. Here is the maintenance area. We can actually see inside these buildings. This is the maintenance area of Epstein's Island. You guys are going to be familiar with this if you watched my drone footage over Epstein's Island, but a lot of people think some of these buildings are have tunnel entrances in them. You guys are welcome to go through. A lot of it's just storage and extra light bulbs and maintenance crap, stuff like that. There's a lot of these pictures, and I'll try to go through them quickly. Here is the bill. Oh my God, this is the one everyone thinks the tunnels are in. We're actually going to go inside the tunnel building. Here we go, guys. We're going in the tunnels. Oh, it's a water tank. Maybe not. Maybe it's some sort of pressurized something. I don't know. I'm not a fucking engineer. But alas, this is going to be like water treatment. I believe the electricity ran through here. So a correction I need to make. In my drone footage video, I said this was a generator. It's not a generator. He actually did have power run from the Virgin Islands power plant to his island, and like this is around where it came in. You can see the high voltage stuff in here a little bit lower. So there actually was a underground cable. I would love for an IT nerd to tell me what I'm looking at here. Here's some server rooms with very, very bad cable management. Almost like these server rooms had recently been revamped. I would love to see that. Here's going to be some of the power where the power came in. And we're going to see a lot of this here. We can't really look at this stuff, guys. Oh, here's something that's interesting. So a lot of people say, who's this lady? Because she's clearly not an Epstein victim. And if she is, she's going to be the only 50-year... Look at that neck. That is the neck of a woman who is over 50 years old, okay? She's not an Epstein victim. Epstein did not deal with these older ladies, okay? She's not a victim, and we have her redacted. So that's an illegal redaction there. I talked more about illegal redactions earlier in the stream, guys. I don't think we should be looking at the victims' photos. You guys can look at that stuff by yourself. I think I might get in trouble by YouTube if I do. Here's going to be the maintenance department of Casa de Epstein. More conceptual drawings. Okay, so here's something that's kind of crazy too, guys. Here's Little St. James. Here's a concept drawing of what he wanted to do. Here's the main residence over here. He describes this. It's maybe described somewhere. Maybe if we keep scrolling. This is the new house. He wanted to build a house kind of where the dump is. There's a dump on Epstein's Island. And he wanted to build a new house there. Here would have been the temple. Okay, just to give you guys some references. Here is an area that he was filling in and actually making more island for himself. Basically what you do is you build a sandbar and pump the water out. It's how Holland actually reclaimed a lot of land sunk by the sea. So that's what Epstein's doing here. He's making more island. But so we have some reference points. Main residence, low spot. So we know that's the temple right there. And he doesn't fucking label it, which I would love. He labeled it like Mediterranean Garden. I would love to know what Epstein called that fucking temple building. Here it is with some labels, all right? So Mediterranean Garden. Fucking stupid motherfucker. Like, why can't he just tell me what he thought that building was? Blackmail hub, ceremonial blackmail area. We can see that this is right there. You guys probably can't read that very good. That says new house, the orchard, patio garden, secret garden, Mediterranean garden. So he basically wanted to 100% develop this island. Every single patch of it be landscaped and developed. Nothing wild. That's pretty crazy. I'd never seen that before. So that just shows you the kind of fuck you money this guy had. That the island wasn't developed enough for him. He was going to keep going with it. All right. Sorry, I got to keep zooming out here. We're going to... There's a lot more here. I don't know if I already... Did I go... The gym, I'll briefly touch on the gym a little bit. I touched on it earlier in the stream. Oh, by the way, these are employee records. You can go through and you can see exactly who was working there. Which, guys, my absolute dream is to go down to the U.S. Virgin Islands and try and interview some people that worked there or... so definitely like and subscribe and maybe donate to chat, because my very first vacation that I take, my very next vacation is going to be down to the U.S. Virgin Islands to try to talk to some people, because I think that would be really cool. Here's what I was talking to you guys about, okay? Here's a to-do list. This is in the beach bungalow, okay? Here is a to-do list dated July 7th. That would have been when Epstein was arrested, all right? Epstein 2019 arrest date. I believe it was July 7th. July the 6th. Okay. So one day after Jeffrey Epstein got arrested, his employees made a note. Work to complete. Library AC. Fuel storage ventilation. Little St. James gym floor plywood. Great St. James staff cottage. Great St. James Q Hut doors. 5 Palms trans number panels. Gym. What's that say? Patio Gym something disc. Pandos disc. Blue Beach trans and panel. Great St. James transfer switch. FPP shade structure. Engineering doors. So one day after Epstein's arrest, this is the shit that they were like, oh my God, we gotta fucking get this done now, guys. Okay? One day after Epstein's arrest. This is the list that they made. Okay? Now let's look at, here's what they call the gym. And I talked about this earlier in my stream. I'm just going to gloss over it a little bit. They call this a gym. Guys, in my opinion, this was a strip club, okay? He's got speakers up here. He's got mirrors here. They didn't redo the floor in here yet. I imagine they ripped this flooring out and to get the bugs out of here. And here we got, mirrors. Here's some go-go dancers up there. Guys, they would not have left this. Like, this is not how Epstein would have had his island, okay? They ripped this floor out to get the fucking bugs out of here. Look at the images of strippers up here. Speakers. Okay? And there's more. There's this big mirror here. Guys, this was a fucking strip club, okay? With surveillance equipment in it. Anyway. Yeah. Gym. No, I don't think so. I do not think so. All right. Now we're going to get into, these are going to be some pictures of Epstein with some people. Of course, we got more Billy Clinton. And some of these pictures, here's the famous one that you see. This one's all over the news and stuff. And then we can see some of the other activities that were going on. They're wearing silk shirts. I believe this was from a trip to Southeast Asia or Thailand. Because in the bottom of this file dump, there's more files where we can see thumbnails. And remember when I told you guys there was a picture of Bill Clinton that they haven't released? I will try to find that for you guys again. And I can't show it on live because there's a lot of pictures in those thumbnails that probably YouTube wouldn't like. But Ian Carroll actually doxed a lot of these people. After you guys leave my stream, go check out Ian Carroll's stream from today because he doxed. I know he doxed these two people. He doxes a lot of people in his stream. So very good work by Ian Carroll doxing people. Here we got old Bill again. Goddamn, Bill. Goddamn, Bill. Yeah, look at him just chumming it up like two old pals. Now, how I know that picture I was telling you guys was a picture of Bill Clinton is because he's like wearing this same fucking cocksucker shirt here. It's a picture exactly like this, but he's with girls. And there's like 3 girls here, and they're all redacted. And he's like, hey, yeah, I'm Bill Clinton. Hey, what's up? But they're all redacted. And we see it in a thumbnail at the bottom of this document release. But they didn't release it in a big image like this for us. They hid it, basically. So, not that we need to protect Bill Clinton because he's all over the documents. Here's Ghislaine. Here's Ghislaine's feet doxed for you guys there. She's wearing a pickle suit, which that's a pilot's outfit. She was a licensed pilot. This cow was on Epstein Island. Here's where they are actually, I'd imagine, buying it. This would have been around when Ghislaine got her pilot's license, and allegedly she was like super proud of it. Man, I gotta tell you, for a woman in her 50s, not too hard on the eyes. I probably shouldn't talk about how hot Ghislaine is. But yep, there's old Bill again. Well, they got pictures of Bill. So here's Bill in Southeast Asia, of course. They were likely with Bill Clinton. And guys, if you go down to that thumbnail, the thumbnail folders I was telling you about, which we're almost to the bottom here, I'll kind of show you what I mean by that. the thumbnail photos, you'll see that there's like images of Bill Clinton, and then right next to it there are redactions, and they have not released these photos redacted here. Sorry, I don't know if you guys can hear me. They haven't released those photos redacted here, but there's images of Bill Clinton right next to completely redacted images. So, you know, once again, what did Bill tell us? What's your relationship with Epstein? I think the evidence is clear. Yeah, the fucking evidence is clear, Bill. Hey, man, I'm going to Epstein's Island, and you know this, man. Yeah, here's Chris Tucker. You know this, man. Probably one of the only black people to be associated with Jeffrey Epstein. Very interesting. Yep, here's more Bill. God damn, Bill. Here he is with Kevin Spacey. I believe Bill, I mean, look how chummy he is with Spacey. I believe Bill, and I'm just guessing this from this image here, probably really liked that show that Spacey played. Was it called House of Cards? I'll bet he really... Goddamn, Bill! Here he is with another victim. I mean, come on. Just go direct. What's that from Monopoly? Go directly to jail. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Come on, Bill. Go directly to jail, Bill. What a dog. What an absolute dog. Oh, here I guess they went to like a wax museum, a World War II. Goddamn, Bill! There he is again. Oh, Bill. Bill. I mean, come on, bro. What a dog. What an absolute dog Bill Clinton was. I don't know if there ever exists another picture of Bill Clinton's ass. This might be the only Bill Clinton ass pic to exist online. Sorry guys, I'm getting distracted here. We actually do have some stuff to go through still. By the way, this is Ian said this is Mark Epstein, Jeffrey Epstein's brother. Kind of crazy there. I've heard this cabin here. People say this could be a royal family property. I don't know, but this is a famous picture, and there's actually lots of those thumbnails I told you about down below. There is image after image after image of a woman laying here, a victim, underage victim, and they have her redacted, or you can kind of see that she's, you know, they have her face and a lot of her body redacted, but you can clearly see it is suggestive materials being taken. So there's lots of pictures of this, and of course the government didn't release the full versions of them. Goddamn, Bill! There he is again. Dude, this guy was an absolute dog. Just an absolute dog. Man, he's probably like the number one most besides maybe Jean-Luc Brunel and Epstein himself, number one implicated guy in the Epstein files. At least what's been released so far. Just with all the pictures and stuff. And that might be intentional, honestly. That might be intentional because, I mean, Clinton's a very powerful person. So maybe that's what's been used as leverage. Guys, this photo's fake. I keep hearing that. Everyone says this is a red herring. It's photoshopped. Everyone keeps saying this is a fake image. And maybe Epstein photoshopped it himself, and that's why it's in here. It does look clearly kind of photoshoppy, but anyway. A lot of these pictures, guys, if you go down and look at the thumbnail versions of these, you can see there are, like, around this picture, there is a shit ton of other pictures that they didn't release. A lot of them with victims in it. This guy is Jean-Luc Brunel, okay? Jean unalived himself in prison, very similar to Epstein. Jean was like a scout for Eastern European models, okay? Because Epstein didn't just get girls from Palm Beach and New York. He also got them from Eastern Europe. And Luc Brunel, who was, by many accounts, a absolute pervert, just like Epstein. I mean, just multiple abuse accounts of this guy. And he, like I said, also unalived himself in prison. So, yeah. Wonder what these two are doing there. These two are these are scientists. One's a biologist. Their names, because my face is in the way. There's their names. They're scientists. Epstein liked to surround himself with intellectuals, scientists. He liked to donate money. Whoop, we're not going to look at that. That's a drag show up there. He liked to donate money to people. Here is Zorro Ranch. Guys, not a lot of images of Zorro Ranch exist, which I talked about this earlier, leads me to believe that some of the darkest things were going on at Zorro Ranch. The island was like the main thing. Zorro Ranch, they had lots of firearms there. You see this guy shooting here. Lots of firearms. And some people say there was human cloning going on. I don't know about that, but I would say there probably was maybe human farming going on, like pregnant girls going there giving birth, because we see in these Epstein files here that are released, I skipped over it. There's one where he's sitting in a chair on his island with a woman, a girl, excuse me. I've been streaming for almost 2 hours. He's sitting next to a toddler wearing a crock. And there is nothing in these Epstein files about how he would have potentially sourced a toddler. Like the women, the 14-year-olds, yeah, okay, there's evidence of how he did that. No one ever talks about how he would have got a toddler. So some people think that at the ranch, maybe pregnant women would be invited here. And if you look again in the thumbnails of all these pictures, a lot of redactions, and we'll actually, I actually skipped over it too. I am so sorry. We are looking for image 3236. We overshot it by about 100. Guys, I apologize. There are so many images to go to. Yeah, so this kind of stuff, guys, is illegal. Okay? They are not supposed to be redacting entire images. This is crazy right here, guys. This is Les Wexner, okay? The guy that financed a lot of the Epstein operation. Wexner has said he had no idea what Epstein was up to. And here we can see him, and half of this image is redacted. I want to see the full unredacted version of this, because who's here? Right? It almost looks like his expression and the way his arms are almost looks like he's picking up a little kid. And that's super dark. But I want to know, this doesn't need to be this redacted. We could just redact the face. I want to see the age of this person here. We need that. Wexner is a frickin' billion. You talk about fuck you money. And look at this. This picture of Wexner. And you can see the case numbers, the picture numbers. 3276, 3277, 3278, 3279, 30. Or excuse me, 80. So many redactions. And then a picture of Leslie Wexner right in the middle. Huh. Wonder just how innocent Mr. Wexner is. But yes, a lot of these images of Zorro Ranch, guys, are just... A lot of this stuff is redacted. Here's, you see, look, again. Look at this. Zorro Ranch. Epstein and Maxwell. Plain. Nice view of Zorro Ranch here. third world country. This is like a favela, like a South America. You guys remember Modern Warfare 2? Am I showing my age a little bit? The map favela. This is what this looks like. Okay, this is a third world country. So, I mean, were women being brought from third world countries to Zorro Ranch to be farmed? Redaction. Look at all this. Entire image is redacted. Guys, this is not the spirit of the Epstein transparency law. They are not allowed to do this. They are supposed to be redacting for ongoing investigations and victim confidentiality. They are redacting entire fucking images here. And again, here we see Zorro. Every time you see Zorro Ranch come up, the redactions get really, really thick. So that leads me to be very, very suspicious about Zorro Ranch. And I have done a shit ton of Epstein research. Okay? And just trust me when I say something's wrong with Zorro Ranch. It's not just your standard, you know, not that I'm excusing this behavior, but it's not just 14-year-old girls and, you know, 15, 16, 17. No. Something pretty dark was, I think, going on at Zorro Ranch. And that's why the government never raided it. Here's this. So Ian Carroll didn't show these images. I don't know if I can. I'm just going to chance it, I guess. Something I want to point out. So this guy, he's the Sultan of Dubai. We don't see it here. I can't remember. I think I saw it in maybe a photo frame. I'm not going to be able to find it for you guys, but trust me when I tell you this image exists. There's an image of Epstein with a girl on his lap and this guy sitting here. And this girl appears to be like 12, 13, 14. I don't know. It's either down in the thumbnails or it's one of those pictures of a picture frame. But this guy definitely saw Epstein with a child on his lap. Okay. So, want to point that out. This guy seems... Hey, I'm just a big dumb Russian. Oh, man. Okay, so here's what Ian Carroll wouldn't show. Look at that. What do you imagine the age of this child is here? 4, 5. Where did Epstein get a... And this is on the island. You see the stonework there. Where did Epstein get a 4 or 5-year-old? And we don't... This isn't common for the Epstein files. All of the Epstein stuff is all 14, 15, 16, 17. A lot of them are of age, too. There's 18-year-olds. There's 22-year-olds. There's, you know... You don't see much of this. You don't see much... Here's a little window into it. Okay? Look at that. Really, really makes you ask some questions, because this kind of nothing about children this young exists in the Epstein files. But here's some evidence of it on the island with Epstein. Who the fuck is this guy? I'd like to know. It doesn't tell us. This fucking guy appears... So this is that same photo set, okay? Whoops. Same photo set. He's sitting right here to Epstein. So Epstein's kind of looking at this little girl here. And so is him. Who the fuck is this guy? I will probably do some research into that, because he is very clearly looking at a toddler. Or he's, you know. Yeah. Anyway, I don't really want to keep talking about this. More stuff of Zorro Ranch. A lot of people went, and people stole guns from him too, by the way. He had like 200 guns from Zorro Ranch stolen, which at first I thought maybe they were, there's Jean-Luc. Oh, by the way, there's a, probably shouldn't show that for too long. That's a risque photo of Ghislaine, or Ghislaine, getting out of a car. Ghislaine. More Zorro Ranch again. Not a lot exists of Zorro Ranch, guys. We can see Epstein. He's kind of a cheeky cocksucker. He likes to wear shirts that say JEE, which, by the way, if I ever do a YouTube merch drop, I'll drop some of Epstein's merch that he used to wear. Here is a Zorro Ranch bit of merch that he has on. Okay? Kind of cool. There's Jean-Luc Brunel again. Guys, and what's really creepy about Zorro Ranch, and the reason I say that the really creepy stuff could have happened here, nobody would be around. No one. The high desert is even more secluded than a private island. Okay? He's here, I actually have pulled up 8 miles. Here's Zorro Ranch on Google Maps. There's the actual ranch, which, by the way, it's since sold. This was like a huge, they demolished this. I'll actually look this up for you. They actually demolished. Look. That's what it looked like when Epstein owned it. For whatever fucking reason, they decided to spend a bunch of money and demolish this thing. And you can actually go on like realtor.com and you can explore this thing. It's on realtor.com. We don't really need to do that. There's nothing damning in the real estate photos. But my whole point with this, guys, is Zorro Ranch is almost 9 miles as the crow flies to the nearest town. Which, by the way, if I ever do go on that vacation to St. James, oh yeah, I am stopping off here at these small towns around Zorro Ranch, okay? 9 miles to this town and about the same to this place too. This little... So you can't, on the high desert, when the sun's out, you're not making it far. You're maybe going to be able to walk for an hour or 2 without water, maybe. Or maybe longer than that. Maybe I'm grossly misjudging. Not very far. Certainly it's going to be very challenging for especially a young woman to make it to one of these towns. And of course, lots of opportunity for if they knew you escaped to recapture you. So Zorro Ranch, very isolated. Here's the road. I mean, for God's sakes, the road is... Let's clear measurement. Measure distance from here. The road is 1.5 miles. The house is 1.5 miles from the road. You know. So no one is seeing you out there. This is, by the way, this is part of Epstein's property too. This is part of Zorro Ranch. This ranch is like an 8,000 acre ranch here. Very, very creepy. And it really makes you wonder what went on here. And there is, like I keep saying this, not a lot of pictures. Here are these are the kind of guns that would have been there. I'd like to know who this guy is because he shows up a lot. I would say these people at Zorro Ranch, very well vetted, very well doxed. And I would say this guy was probably blackmailed too, because you're going to need your employees to be in on it. You're going to need your employees to shut their mouths. And they seem, Epstein and Ghislaine seem awfully chummy with this guy. And let me tell you something. Here's just shows you too how much of a rich jerk Epstein and Ghislaine were. When Epstein met Ghislaine instituted a no eye contact policy with staff. They were not allowed to look Epstein or Ghislaine in the eyes. She's a rich heiress. Her dad was Robert Maxwell, the biggest media influencer owner in Britain. So she grew up filthy fucking rich. And she's been a rich bitch her whole life. Which, you know, it just absolutely kills this woman to be in prison. But yeah, that just shows you how they view the help, the staff, okay? And they're chumming it up with this guy. I'd like to know who he is. Someone that likely was very involved with the activities of Zorro Ranch. Here's this guy, likely photographed right after an encounter. We see him in a towel smoking a cigarette. Ian Carroll doxed him. He's a factory owner. He owned a factory. He was involved in the gem business, gem and diamonds. So, you know, blood diamonds. Not a very nice person. Once again, more employees of Zorro Ranch. And this is the island. These are those little beach bungalows outside the island. This is on Epstein Island. He invited Zorro Ranch employees to the island. probably to blackmail. Oh, here's Ghislaine getting awfully friendly with the help here. Goddamn, Ghislaine! She was a flirty little tease, I would imagine. A lot of accounts show Ghislaine would like instruct the women on what to do with Epstein. There's even some accounts where she would, quote, brandish a whip. So, quite the English heiress Miss Ghislaine was. Yep. Once again, Zorro Ranch employees. This guy was from Zorro Ranch, hanging out on the island. And Epstein is not the charitable type. He's not going to be bringing people out here for no reason. So, my opinion, the reason he's bringing Zorro Ranch employees out here, you know, it wasn't just powerful people he wanted to blackmail. You know, why is he taking pictures of, like this guy? By the way, you see this a lot. Pixelated versions and regular versions of this. I don't know why, but why is he taking pictures of this guy? This pilot. This goofy motherfucker. You know he got fucking honeypotted. You could convince this guy, but hey man, you want to come to this island and we got some women? Oh yeah, sure. I'll come to your island, Mr. Epstein. Look at that face. Sorry, I'm sure he probably could be a nice guy. Maybe he's innocent. I doubt it, but maybe. My whole point with this, guys, is Epstein would have wanted to collect Here's the Zorro Ranch employee again. We saw that guy learning about guns, and now here he is on Epstein Island. Epstein's not a charitable guy. He's not bringing people. He's not bringing his employees out here for a fun time for no reason. No. This guy was probably going to be the manager out there, and he needed to come out here and get compromised. Because you'll notice he still hasn't, whoever the fuck that guy is, hasn't been talking. There's Luc Brunel again. Luc, and there's actually you know that photo you see of Ghislaine massaging Epstein's feet on the plane? There's more photos of that encounter, and I probably skipped through them, guys. Great apologies. There's a lot to go over here. There's a picture of her wrestling him, and she beats him. She like gets him in a headlock. So I don't know, man. Maybe she brandished the whip on Jean a few times, you know? Who knows? Who knows? Also, there's albums in those binders that we can't look at because I'll probably get my video taken down from YouTube. There are, some of the CDs are called Gay Jean-Luc Brunel. And all those images are redacted. So, take from that what you will. Gay. Oh! Here they are. I'm just talking about it. Look. See, she got him in a headlock. I'm sorry, but I mean, Jean-Luc is not the strongest of guys, but I would imagine, I don't know, either he liked it or he let her win. That's the vibe I get here. Yep. Just released. This image didn't exist on the internet a few days ago, guys. So, yeah, here's look at this seductress. Look at that face. Woo! Man. I got to say, Ghislaine. But yeah, we got more images. All right, and so see a lot of the stuff here, guys. We're to the end of the main photo dump. And here's kind of some of the stuff we can't go through. Maybe I'll try to briefly go through it, but a lot of these are thumbnails. So you see this? Here's an example of what these look like as you go through them. And so you really have to, and see there's a lot of this item not scanned stuff. Man, I really don't want to get into some, but a lot of these show, and here's where that picture of Bill Clinton is. It's called Tie Trip and Bill. Yeah, see, we can't be showing that kind of stuff, guys. There's a thing in here, Moscow Girls. There's one that says Clinton Trip, and in that you see the thumbnails of. See all these redacted. Yeah. Cancer benefit. There's one in here that says that says Clinton trip, and in there we can see the thumbnail of Bill Clinton that they didn't show us the main image of. A lot of this stuff is CSAM in here, guys. A lot of it's redacted. There's some where they'll show like I said, bra and panty kind of stuff, which is, you know, I don't think they're supposed to be putting that out. And maybe they put some of this stuff out so that people would come out. Yeah, Walter Cronkite, he's in the Epstein files. Maybe they put like some of the bra and panty stuff out so that people would get outraged about it, and they could be like, see, we can't release these files. See the kind of stuff that's in here, guys. Just a guess. But somewhere in here there are more Bill Clinton. There's one Bill Clinton image, and I will try to find that for you guys. But whenever the next batch of Epstein files comes out, I will be sure to do another review of that for you. There's some good stuff in here, and I'm not even going to touch on the these documents here. There's more court documents. I haven't even been through a lot of this stuff, maybe like once. A lot of these are just documents they found, evidence they photographed in Epstein's raid, and a lot of this stuff you click on and it goes down. It's not just the, well, this isn't going to do it, but a lot of it is like multiple images in there. So here's all the stuff that they haven't. A lot of these are, computers and stuff taken. And then at the very bottom, we have court documents from the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. You can't see because my face is in the way. These are worth looking at. I haven't been through them all. This took me to go through all of these images, guys. It took me like 8 hours. No kidding. 8 hours to go through all these. So I really hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please please subscribe to the channel. Like I said earlier, I'm going to make these lives that I do, my deep dives, and then my actual YouTube videos, I'm going to be putting in a lot more work in and making them more theatrical. So if you guys join me in the middle, go back and watch from the beginning, because the best stuff is